Before we get started, it's important to note that the primary prerequisite for this course is the customer setup course. There are two types of customer invoices in Dynamics 365 for finance and operations: free text invoices and sales order invoices. We'll cover free text invoices first and then sales order invoices later on in this course. A free text invoice is an invoice that is not attached to a sales order. A free text invoice contains a header and one or more lines for items or services that are not tracked in inventory. Although those types of items may be on a sales order invoice as well through the use of what are called sales categories, inventoried items cannot be on a free text invoice, and the term free text means what it says, that we can type in any text of our choosing on the line item. Use a free text invoice for sales that do not require a sales order or packing slip. For example, you can use a free text invoice for a consulting fee or a services fee or for miscellaneous fees for an event reimbursement. In this demonstration, we're going to create a free text invoice, show how to distribute amounts, and post the free text invoice. To create a free text invoice, we're going to go through the accounts receivable module. We'll go to accounts receivable, then down to invoices, to all free text invoices. What we can see here is we can see some invoices that have been completed and a number that are still in process and have not yet been posted. We're going to create a new one. So I'm going to go up to the top and select New, and then I'm going to select my customer account. And I'll choose this one, Forest Wholesales. And we'll see that what we've also got filled in besides the customer account is the invoice account, which means that we could possibly have a situation where we have a parent-child relationship in the customer account versus the invoicing account. In this case, they're the same, but in many cases they can be different. For example, we could be selling to a customer which is a local regional customer, and the invoice is sent to the home office, which is a national office. That's an example of an invoice account. In addition, we have the invoice date that shows up is today's date. We can keep it at today's date or put in a different date if we want. And the terms will be triggered by that invoice date in conjunction with the terms of payment. In addition to the terms of payment being net 45 in this case, we also have on this customer a cash discount if they pay within, available to them if they pay within 30 days of 0.5%. Defaults in the currency, defaults the method of payment that is used to pay us, and a number of other different types of defaults that can come in which we can override if we choose to. We also have an extended header view on all types of invoices, where we can then see further default values that we can then adjust if we need to, such as delivery terms or a default sales tax group. I'm going to go back to the lines view, and we're going to add then our information on a line, and in this case I'm going to say this is for rental income from equipment that we're renting out. We need to choose a main account, so I'm going to put that against revenue fees. And what we need to do then is also put in a unit price. So I'll say it's a quantity of 1 to calculate to an amount of $1,000. We also can see that there is a sales tax group associated with this for this, in this case, California sales tax group, and also then an item sales tax group that is defaulting from the accounts receivable parameters. We can check on our sales tax values up at the top, like going to the top to sales tax, the sales tax button, and we can see that it does calculate sales tax because the sales tax code are returned using both the sales tax and the item sales tax codes, is using this AV California state tax of 7.25%. Further at the header level, we can add additional charges if we need to the header, and then if we want to distribute the amounts to the lines. So I could have, for example, a charge for labor of fixed amount of $25. And I'm going to say in this case that that's not taxable, so I'm going to leave that one alone. And I have a choice of distributing that as well to the lines. I'm just going to leave it at the header level, just to illustrate though that additional charges are possible. I'll close that, and if I go to my totals button up here, I can see a summary of the totals of that information, such as the total amount and the sales tax that we've seen and the charges we've seen, plus other pertinent information like cash discounts, exchange rates, etc. Going back down to the lines, we're going to look at the distribute amounts button above the line, and that shows what the GL distribution is of that line. That distribution came from the main account that we put in, but we also see that there's a financial dimension in there, and that dimension is in the business unit where it says 002. Where did that come from? We're going to come back to this in a second. Well, let's go down first though to the line details on the bottom of the form, and on the line details one of the things we see is the financial dimensions. So this default value came in from the financial dimensions of 002. That came originally from the customer. So on any time that we have this customer being used, then it's saying for any revenue, put that also to business unit 002. We can then, in addition, we can say, we can add down here if we want, we can add the department, say, or in this case we'll just add this 008, or cost center, and 008 department can keep going on that as well, and so on and so on. And once we do that, if we go back up to the distribute amounts button, we can see that that was put in automatically for us up here, but we can maintain it here as well. It goes in both places. One of the things to note though is if we change it here, it won't necessarily change it down in the line details, because we also have the ability to split this. And so I can say I can split this by a certain percentage or amount into different lines, whatever I choose. So I might say I'm going to split this one half into cost center 009. Just type that in, put in 50% here on the top line, and then on the bottom line as well. So that's another way we can distribute the line value. So if we go down to the line details again, we don't see that that has changed on this, so that's important to note that this distribute amounts can override that. Going back to it again for a second, we also have the ability to reset this. We also have the ability to distribute it equally. So what I could have done, instead of just manually putting in the 50-50%, is I could have clicked on distribute equally, just did, and it of course kept it at 50-50. This will also split sales tax if we do that split, and we can see that this sales tax amount has been split into two lines as well. Now, why are they the same? Because the that dimension that I split it into is not a dimension that's being used on this account number, which is in the balance sheet, the sales tax payable. So it didn't go down to the cost center level, but if it had it, it would. If I had to split it into departments or business units, it would have split the sales taxes accordingly. Lastly, there's a little bit more information on the bottom of the line details. We'll return to that for a second, where we can have an extended invoice text if we wanted to. If we're selling a fixed asset, we can put that information in here, and that would automatically then retire that asset and also book the gain and loss on the asset. We could add reason codes. We can put in some foreign trade information that can be very important for freight carrier or the customs in the foreign country. But that's good enough for us now, and we should have all our information in and have the ability to post our invoice. So we'll do that right now. When we post, it'll ask us questions that we can override. These are the defaults. Do we need to print the invoice? We can if we want, and make some corrections to credit and credit limit codes, etc. We can also choose to run it in the background in batch if we want to. So I'm just going to go and post this right now. Click OK. It then says operation completed, indicating a successful posting. Our values posted, our posted button at the top is now grayed out, but we can still view our totals and our sales taxes and everything else we want to on this invoice. So this is a completed operation, and we've created a receivable available for cash collection.